Have you ever approved AI code that you hadn't fully read? Read would be, understand, ship it. I kind of have, but
Welcome to Fire Talks by Tech Wing Bites. I'm Clint. I've built software, led teams, and now a founder, helping builders who are ready to make the leap, but can't quite see the path yet. Every episode is one conversation closer to clarity on ownership, execution, and momentum.
AI as the final reviewer. So today we'll see who comes in, but right now we have Nathan.
All right, yeah. So my name is Nathan Fager. I'm the I do coaching, fractional CTO work. I work out of my own company, Nateland Studios. You can see me at nate-land.com. I also post a bunch on LinkedIn, so that's there too. And I have a few more hours that I'm available to book. So I just be able to plug myself a little bit here too.
There it is. You did way better than me on mine. I'm gonna just let mine fumble and go. Like that's how it is.
I hear you.
All right. I know I did send out some reading material or whatnot, but I think we all deal with this, right? AI is getting better at building, shipping, doing all of the stuff that developers and engineers used to do. As a senior engineer, I remembered one of my jobs was to do code reviews, be the final approver, and now I've seen a lot of people is using AI to kind of help with testing, which is great, but also kind of depending on it, right? So when you're working with Claude or even Codex, there's the do you want to allow this, right? And you have to say yes or yes for this session.
Mm-hmm.
But like you are that approver. Some people say no, just go. But those same people that says just go is the same people that is allowing AI to be the final approver, and that's a habit that I'm seeing from what I'm reading. More and more, not just by solo builders, but developers on teams.
Yeah.
So that's the topic. Like, do you really trust AI to be the final approver?
I mean, I think it, like all good things, it sort of depends on the severity and the criticality of the software that you're building. So I have a side business. I have some side work that I do and my own personal thing that I'm working on. And for that, and especially to start with, and it doesn't matter, whatever, like no one's using my product yet. I just gotta get something to demo. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and that's the real thing with a lot of these vibe coded apps. Like nobody will get you to 80% better than a vibe coded application, right? Like it's just so fast. It's so amazing. When you're AWS, right? If you think about the articles in this March 5th, outage that they'd had, AWS can't go down. Like we all depend on it. Fiber optic cable gets cut in DC, and we were down for a week. I remember at one point, many months ago.
Right.
So, and there's just like the other thing I think about too is, there was like I think there was a study with people doing looking for like polyps in the colon. And like they had a doctor look, then an AI look, and the AI was pretty good and the doctor was pretty good, and AI plus the doctor was amazing. But when you took the AI tool away from the doctor was much worse. At noticing these, they had gotten so dependent. AI was so good that you got really dependent on it. Like, yeah. And I find myself doing this as well, where I see it going great for a while, and I get complacent.
So you think that kind of prevents you from doing your cognitive analytical thinking with a particular problem? I mean, but if it's something that you're accustomed doing over and over and over, do you still need to think deep on it in this scenario? It's the same thing, but it's a different scenario. In other words,
tell me more about that.
A better example, you're building an app, but you build apps.
Yeah.
Right? And you go through the same 5 stages. Right.
Yeah.
And so before AI, you would think through those stages, and then you would eventually, build a habit where some of those things just kind of feel natural. Right.
Right.
Well, now we insert AI. Some of those steps are still feeling natural, but with a handicap. Right. And is that handicap you're thinking less? That's the question.
Yeah, I think I mean, I still tend to look at the areas that I understand the most,
Mhm.
right? Like I care about, I sort of think about, I used to give this interview question where I I sort of asked someone, stack rank for me these three errors.
Mhm.
Okay. The site's down, the the site is up, but we are showing wrong data to a user. Their data store has the right data, or the site is up, but we're writing wrong data to the durable data store. Like, which of those three how do you stack rank these three errors?
Mhm.
I generally prefer the site to be down. Then, like the worst one is writing wrong data to the durable data store. To me, that's like much worse than the site being down generally. And
Right.
so I think like when I think about like what do I still look at closely, what's the architecture of the database? How does the database lay itself? How do we lay that out? How does data moving through the system?
Right.
And then but man, as soon as CSS and the UI shows up, I'm like, I don't know. It seems kind of like I look at the store, like it kind of looks like the JSON looks good, and that's about as hand wavy as I can get. But
Right.
that's my bias to coming from data engineering.
Right. Welcome, David. You want to give a little plug, and then I'll give you an update on what's going on with the topic. You're mute again. Yeah, we can't hear you. I thought when you joined, I heard you. But why you doing that? I gave the question. Of course, is AI being the final reviewer, and the scenario that I just gave Nathan is that AI could potentially make you feel, yeah, dumber because you're so highly dependent upon it. I believe the example Nathan was with doctors, right? They were using it so much that when you take away the AI, they wasn't as sharp, right? So how do you uh uh how do you use the same pattern of building and not relying so deeply on AI that it's preventing you from thinking? You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the context. We kind of touched on a couple areas there. Uh-oh. No, I can see you. I can see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you. Nathan, you can still hear me, yes?
I hear you good. Yeah.
Okay, just checking. We're having some technical difficulties. Do I need to turn mic up the old school music, Nathan?
He's so intimidated by
We'll just have to go to
Yeah.
the old microphone here in the PC. You able to hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I guess introduce myself first quickly. Yeah, name's David C. Home, longtime technology executive. I spent the last 20 years leading software development and IT departments. So that's it for me. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It sounds like you guys were kind of in the thick of it already, this conversation. So I don't know. I can give you my 2 cents, or you can
Yeah.
fill me in whatever you want.
Yeah. So really, the question was, does it make you feel dumber by allowing AI to do the low hanging fruit? Right?
Dumber, no, but I treat large language models like another employee. I don't just let it go and do, right? Trust but verify.
Right.
So
you would always see yourself as the last verifier. You won't let LLM ever be the last verifier.
I don't think it's smart to ever let anything or anyone be. I mean, if you're in that role, then you should always verify everything, right? Like the mistakes are going to be made, whether it's a machine or a person.
Right. Yeah, that's facts. I think we all are starting to build that habit, though, that I'm sorry, you don't like to say, like we said, the AI, the LLM. The LLM is getting better. Although I just saw some recent post about Opus 4.7 not being as smart, even though it has better benchmarks than Opus 6, for example, for Claude.
That's,
But like if you're using it and it seems like it's getting stuff done a high percentage of the time, then you would think that, okay, let me just trust it this time. Let me just give it full autonomy this time.
well, we could have a whole different conversation about Opus 4.7 versus 6 and Sonnet and all the other fun stuff and what they're tuned for, what they're good at, and how to use them, and so on and so forth. But I mean, I think that's a good example. Like you can give a task to a human or a machine, and it's going to, in theory, as long as it's worth its weight, going to get done, right? You also have another factor in here, which is what is your risk tolerance, right? Like, and what are you going to spend your time verifying? Like, what are the important things to verify? I think that might have been a little bit of what you were hitting on a moment ago, Nathan.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So the question of, since this is for both of you guys, have you ever approved AI code that you hadn't fully read would be, understand, and then ship it? I kind of have, but I mean,
you kind of have. So the answer is yes, but I need to add a bunch of caveats around it.
Okay.
Because I wrote the spec and I put it right, and I fully understood the spec, and then I ran it through exhaustive, both automated and manual UAT, and I knew that it was functioning the way that I needed it to, and it also was, not something that had security concerns to it, right? Or massive architecture concerns, if it wasn't done the way that I needed it done, that it was going to come back and bite me later. So again, weighing those risks, right? It passed to a level and was not a consequence where I needed to spend more time on it.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Nate?
That'd be my approach too. I mean, honestly, even before that, I remember when ChatGPT first came out, I found out that I owned like a 15-year-old Rails system that needed some issues, some fixes, and I used this thing called Active Record, and the website was down for it, and I was like, I got nothing. I was just pasting stuff and praying, it was like, and all I could do was kind of something similar, it was just like, I could vet the system to the best of my ability. The QA person could vet the system to the best of my ability. No one knew, and there was no Rails code developer anywhere that knew it. Like everybody left, 10 years ago who worked on the system. So, I mean, I think, that was as good as anything. At least I had something, I was at least able to make some forward progress.
Yeah.
So I would say, but, I think when I was sort of coaching a developer today, and he's about to work on a prototype to sort of change some authentication, I was like, listen, like we worked on a bit of a prompt, thanks David for like, put that in Claude AI, take that down into brainstorming, take the brainstorming result back into Claude AI again, right? Work through that plan, really build that plan. To me, every line of that plan has to be super, super scrutinized. It's really helpful with including the technical details. To me, that's the place you can really go faster and get just so much more leverage than staring at every line of code, which is honestly exactly how I work with engineers. When I hand an engineer a project, I can't look at every line of code. I just have to trust them, and this is at least I know, and it's going to be exhaustively worked on in this scenario.
Well, again, I built that way because that's the way I'm used to working, right? Like, it's force multiplication. I just treat it like an employee. So,
yeah, in the previous scenario, in your previous work scenario where you're working with humans, you didn't really do everything, right? Like, you have to trust the engineers to do their work. Maybe you might have done a code review here, there, But product team did what product team does, QA team, design team, they did what they do. But in this scenario, with you kind of getting your I'm gonna call it an agent for right now, but the LLM to kind of autonomously do work. You built the spec. You build the test cases. You build everything, right? So it's almost like, yes, there's caveats where we will allow AI to be the final approver, but one feels to me is, if I've done everything, I've done the TDD cases, I've spec'd it out, you know, I kind of did the design, then yeah, I'm just gonna say go, because I'm good.
Do you want to take that, Nathan, or do you want me to?
No, you should start.
Okay. All right. So I think firstly, in my last roles that I've had, I wasn't writing spec, I wasn't doing code reviews, I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I was reviewing the people that did those things. I was one of the people that was helping come up with what was the top level business value that we were aiming for, and then we were, you know, pushing that off down into the rest of the teams, and saying, hey, go figure out how to achieve this value, right? And so, and then we would it would go all the way down, it would come all the way back up, and we would start assessing whether or not those values were met, if there were any misses, if we wanted to continue hammering at that business value, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did rise up through the ranks doing each of those things.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't where I was at. So it's like a good piece of software, right? There's different levels of interfaces that you're dealing with, and you have a certain responsibility layer that you're operating at. So that you try to let the other things do their things autonomously. You don't need to understand exactly how, you just need to be able to measure the results.
Right. Nathan, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, my last two jobs, I probably, you know, I didn't do a lot of the technical work at all. I was mostly hiring, throughput, executive reporting. I led the architecture team, but I sort of facilitated it. And I'd say if there was like something, we were laying down some new data architecture, I probably was involved in that, or some new distributed system situation, I was probably involved in that, because that happens to be an area that I know. But for the most part, my goal was to speak as little as possible, because I was not the most, I did not have the intellectual power. I had role power and the intellectual power to make the decisions. So I was really trying to facilitate the right people to make those decisions.
Right. So go ahead.
I would go further and say that it wasn't necessarily, well, it was trying to speak as little as possible, but when speaking, it was asking questions. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Right. Ask the right questions. If it falls in the ballpark, then it kind of builds your trust, right? And I would assume then, if you're building alone in this scenario, that's what you're doing with the LLM, right? You're asking, hey, did you do what I asked you to do? Yeah. For me, I've created a skill, and it has like a bunch of stuff in there, like, you know, should you do TDD test cases before, do the red and the green, you know, have a developer mindset. I can put a bunch of stuff in there, and after every round of me kind of building, I would say, you know, run this skill. But what I've noticed, there's a couple times LLM just it ignored it. Even though it ran the skill, it did not check everything. You know what I mean? So I don't think I would feel comfortable, as in the case of you know, working with engineers. If they say they did it, I'm gonna trust